What is up, everybody? Back here on the Tell the Truth podcast. Yours truly, D-Mac, DG, CJ, and a special guest, Harold Kuntz. The Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. We had to bring on a special guest from Fox Sports. Happy to have you on board, man. Good to see you. Look, another year, another Super Bowl.
I know, right?
That's what Kansas City is now.
Man,
that's what it is, man.
Running out of fingers, man.
It looks like it's coincided. It looks like it's coincided with Harold showing up in KC. So, there's a little correlation there, 2019. But yeah, man, look, for somebody that was there in Baltimore, just give us an overall feel for what were the vibes like, man? What were the vibes like after they had sealed that victory?
Well, it's different because it wasn't at home. So, but like they did the job, and it was like, it wasn't like a dramatic victory per se. Cause the defense did their job. If anything, when I'm going up there and I'm seeing who's on the podium to get the Lamar Hunt trophy, it's like, that's great. Patrick's up there, but they didn't score any in the second half. Travis is cool. He had a great first half. Chris Jones was incredibly dominant, but put L'Jarius Sneed up there. He had to play the game. He had to play the game. Put Trent McDuffie up there. He was fantastic. I can't say enough words about the Chiefs secondary this year. Them as a unit is the MVP in my opinion. It really is. But they did the job. Isaiah Pacheco was probably the one that was the most hyped up because he's always hyped up. He ran out the field saying, "I'm from Jersey," and just started screaming. Yeah. It's just like, I was like, okay, man, I got it. But and they had the "In Spags We Trust" shirts. Saw the Spag afterward, and Spag's great. The Spags is fantastic. You can just tell this, like, he's the one that Chris Collinsworth, when he says this is a guy, like Spags is like, this is a guy that, he's just like, yeah, he really enjoys it. And you can tell how much he enjoys, like, just preparing these guys, getting them organized. And they love it too. They love Spags. So talking to him afterward was great. Talking to L'Jarius Sneed was great. And his mom coming up in the interview. And, talking to Pat Mahomes Sr., obviously, is always fantastic.
Oh, gee.
And usually I just bumped into him, and I was like, hey, how proud of you? And, so pretty they're happy. They're happy because I think there was a little trepidation, quite frankly, for them going into Baltimore. They thought maybe, I don't know. They were like, I don't know, maybe not. But we don't know. But, like, we're confident, but, we know we're up against it. And Baltimore just melted down. Like, they, from a game planning standpoint, they melted down. From a discipline standpoint, they melted down. They got down 2 touchdowns. They got down 7-up. They gave up those first 2 touchdowns. And they were like, oh, whoops. They were talking stuff before game. People saw the thing with Justin Tucker. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but they saw it. They saw the cornerback for the Ravens.
Millette, yep.
Yeah, getting into it. I'm like, I know Baltimore is historically known for the Baltimore Bullies. Like, I get that, but this was still the defending champions in town, and they were not respecting the champions. And from now on, if I'm another team, I'm telling the guys the whole week, don't say SHIT the entire week. Don't say anything. Be a robot. Say, like, I am very respectful for the Kansas City Chiefs organization. I think they are talented. Don't say nothing. Even when there's a second left, you're up 35. Don't say anything. Like, so, I was like, I was sitting there in the press box, and, we got Nate and Darren and Aaron and Sam and all those guys from Star. And I'm just sitting here like, it was 17-7. Like, this game is over. They don't need to score a single point the rest of the game because either the Ravens are going to go back and penalize themselves, or the Chiefs are going to make a play. And sure enough, L'Jarius Sneed made the play of the game, play of the year, honestly, in my opinion. So that's why we're here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Could you sense any nervous energy, like, before the pregame, like on the Ravens side or anything like that?
I don't think they were nervous. I think they were overzealous.
Yeah.
They're a little overzealous.
Yeah.
I think they're just like, we're the 1 seed. We're confident. We're playing at home. We can do this. But then you could kind of tell in the way Lamar threw some of those short passes that weren't on point.
Facts.
You can tell by the way that there's some guys open. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo's defensive plan was pretty simple. It was like, we're going to force you into throwing the ball no matter what you do, man.
Facts.
We're going to force you into throwing the ball. You got 1 read, 2 read. If you make a 3rd read, great. That's what happened on a touchdown pass to Zay Flowers because they saw Flowers on Nick Bolton. And they're like, all right, that's your 3rd read, though.
After the sack,
he had time. He had people open. When Omenahue strip sacked him,
he was running across.
He was open. Yeah, like he was open.
He was.
And but I mean, they just said like, this is what we're gonna do, and they didn't meet the moment. I mean, the Ravens are probably. I would honestly think the Ravens look back at that film and they're probably more pissed off than the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have every right to look pissed off at that film too, because it wasn't like they were aces either. I mean, that second half, the Seahawks' new coach was figuring them out in the second half. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just how it went. But no, I thought they were just a little overzealous. They thought they were the big bully. And I'm like, you don't bully a champion. Like,
facts.
You don't like that's just not the right way to do it. Like, if you want to be overzealous, great, but go out there and prove it. Like I was saying before the game, like if the Ravens have a shot at winning this game, if they have a shot, they have to come out like living, you know what out of them. Like they have to, like the way they should. I was like, what's that mean? Run the football, like run it at their butt. And they never did. They never got it established. They had 81 yards of rushing. That was like their lowest output in 2 years. So like, I mean, they never had it. They never had it going. I mean, give credit to Chris Jones and Omenahue when he was there. I mean, they did their job. And yeah, they're just overzealous. They weren't nervous. I mean, I don't think anybody was nervous per se, but they're just like the crowd seemed more nervous than the players. Right. You know, like even when they scored that touchdown, they were still like, all right, yeah. And then the Chiefs would probably respond with like 3 plays that goes about 20 yards. And they're like, crap, it's the Chiefs. This is crap.
That first touchdown for us probably really took all the energy. Because like you said, I was saying that before the game. I was telling Chuck, whoever gets the ball first is going to set the tone. And for us to get that stop, get the ball back and drive right down the field, like you said, Harold, that took all the energy that they probably had before the game. Because the stat coming into the game, if Lamar throws the ball over 31 times this year, I think since he's gotten to the Ravens, he's 17-12. If he throws the ball under 30 times, I think he was like 34-3. Yeah. So when they run the ball dominantly, they win. And we took that away from him. He finished with 37 attempts. So they can throw the ball, you have a good chance to win.
Yeah, it was just they went away from their game plan too quickly. And another thing too about the crowd, like Baltimore, like they brought out Ray Lewis, they brought out Ed Reed, they brought out Jonathan Ogden, they brought out the entire Orioles. Like they played sports in Baltimore, and you were good at one point. You were there. I mean, Todd Heap was there. I was like, Todd Heap. I was like, name a random tight end. Todd Heap. So it was. Yeah, I know. Like they just kept, and then they brought Terrell Suggs out. I mean, I don't know if the Ravens completely forgot that Terrell Suggs was a Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Why did he wear Chiefs ring, Harold? He had his ring.
Yeah, so like
he had that Chiefs ring in his pocket.
I know. Yeah, you all played for both organizations. So I don't know if that was the right call, and they dimmed the lights down in the third quarter. But again, I mean, they had every opportunity. I mean, like let's put it this way: Zay Flowers scores that touchdown, 3-point game. Chiefs defense, Chiefs offense was going nowhere. And then Tucker hits that field goal, tied. Who knows what happened? So, I mean, it was, but Baltimore put out all the stops. But, yeah, like you said, after that first touchdown, they're like, oh, we're facing a real killer. Yeah. And, I mean, postseason Patrick Mahomes, everybody knows 14-3. His passer rating's off the charts. I mean, he's had a regular season full of playoff starts, and he'd be a 1 seed. Like, so, like, it's just what he does. It's just what he does. And it's like the only people to beat him are Tom Brady when he had a banged up offensive line, game where he didn't have an opportunity, game when he didn't have the opportunity to score in overtime. And then Joe Burrow. Honestly, the only time I've ever been like, what the heck, was that second half against the Bengals in that AFC Championship game. I was like, what happened? Facts. But, I mean, yeah, they're dominant, man. They're dominant. I mean, they win this Super Bowl. I will use the D word. I will use dynasty. If they win this Super Bowl, I will use dynasty.
Facts. I said before the season they were going to go back to back because of this defense. So They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. No, they're doing it. I mean, the defense has been. I mean, it's a weird season too when you think of it because everybody thinks of the Chiefs' offense and putting up points.
Exactly.
And goals. I'm like 2018 is 2018, man. That's done. Like
it's been
done.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you can start seeing the wheels turn at the end of last season.
Exactly.
So, like, I mean, if you really look at it, and then if you look at training camp, you're like, oh, this defense has potential to be very good.
Facts.
So between that and the improved play, like Spag's defense works when he has people experienced in it, and they had it. And then let's look at the schedule. I mean, let's look at their losses. The Lions game is simply Kadarius Toney not catching the football and not playing with Travis Kelce or Chris Jones.
Okay.
Let's look at the Buffalo game. He obviously lined up off sides. I mean, when you look back at it, the only games they truly lost, Packers and Raiders.
Yeah.
Remarkable. That's the only games that's like the only games where like, oh, okay. And even the Packers game, like, yeah, you can say they had a shot at the end with some PIs or whatever, but like I think the Packers were the better team on the night. And then the Raiders obviously were the better team on Christmas. But yeah, I mean, even the Eagles game, MVS catches that football. Different conversation. Like, and then sure enough, the irony of MVS at the end catching the football.
Poetic justice.
When you look at it 3 or 4 times, you're like, man, that was a struggle. You felt it. You were like, I just need to make sure I really get this secure.
They had to write the script, Harold. You know how they go. You gotta make it look good.
Okay.
That's the script. Start the season with MVS, you end it with MVS.
Right.
That's funny.
So along those lines, I mean, I wanted to tell it about the many phases of the dynasty. For this team to kind of complete what they want to within, the next few days coming up here. The evolution of this team starting in 2019 in the Super Bowl that they were able to win versus the 49ers up until this moment that they're going for their 3rd and 4 years. For everything that it's kind of encompassed, 35 years, I should say, of everything that they've encompassed, changing the team from explosive with Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill around Travis Kelce, getting rid of the offensive line, retooling that side of the ball, having such veteran leadership on defense, and then retooling that into such a young defense after the Tyreek Hill trade, the transformations that we've seen. I mean, what can you say about the front office and also kind of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo as kind of the heads of the coaching staff on each side of the ball and what the job that they've been able to do to transform this team around, obviously, the centerpiece of Mahomes, Kelce, and Chris Jones?
Yeah, well, they got the foundation. I mean, you got your key player, you got your key target, and your key defender. But I've just been really being impressed by the late round picks they get. That's really what it comes to. I mean, look at your starting running back, 7th round pick, Isaiah Pacheco. He's been great. Trey Smith was a guy that comes in from Tennessee, had some health issues at Tennessee, and was turned out. But you forget sometimes he was the number 1 high school like recruit in America, and he comes in, he does his thing. You get a best guy like Creed Humphrey in the 2nd, 3rd round. I think it's 2nd round. I mean, he gets some. Nick Bolton's another guy like that, 2nd day pick. I mean, this thing's built around 2nd and 3rd day picks, and then you get like the nice little, pick like a Justin Reed or a Joe Tooney, and you just build it. I mean, give credit. I mean, Mike Dan is the guy. He's a 5th round guy. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed, we forget it. He was picked during COVID where they didn't really scout people too well. They couldn't get around, and they just said, we like him. He's aggressive. And give credit to the coaching staff too. Like not just Spagnuolo, but like that defensive staff. There's 3 guys on there that could be defensive coordinators.
Amen.
Will Cullen could be a defensive coordinator. Brendan Daly is getting interviews to be a defensive coordinator with the Patriots and Giants, I believe. You've got Dave Merritt, who I think is fantastic. And with the way, if you've looked at the NFL, the way they've been hiring coaches recently, they've all been shifted toward a younger side. I think that's what the owners are getting younger. And like, Merritt and Cullen are on the older side, and it's like they don't really they're kind of set there. So I mean, you have that consistency in the coaching staff, both sides except for receiver. That's not been consistent from an assistant coaching staff. It just hasn't been consistent. But but that consistency on defense, and everybody knows the playbook. You got guys that've done it for more than a year now. Like, I remember at the end of last year, some of the guys saying they were just starting to get the playbook down. They're like, yeah, I think I'm just starting to get this. And now they're flying around. You can tell. So they use the old example, the left hand talking to the right hand. And that's what's happening on defense. So you got to give them credit. And then you look at some of those guys. I mean, Brian Cook before he was injured, their third-day pick. You got McDuffie's like your first-round pick, but I told you about Snead. And let's not forget the acquisitions they got at all three levels. Drew Tranquil at linebacker.
Mike Edwards.
Mike Edwards, great depth pickup that they needed. Let's not forget about Shamari Connor, from the
99% of snaps in these last two games in the playoffs.
Then Charles Omenihu, obviously another pickup. I mean,
put together the right way.
They just put together a roster that works. I mean, there's only because Chris Jones, we forget he's not a first round pick either. So it's like, the only guy, then McDuffie and Karlaftis. I mean, those are your first. I mean, now they've been superb and they've played up to their. I mean, McDuffie's an all pro. That's everything you can ask for at a first round pick. And Karlaftis, I think, is on his way to it. So
double digit sacks, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, he got 10.5. I mean, he led the team in sacks along with Chris Jones. And Chris Jones only tied him because he was playing his butt off in week 18.
30 rushes.
Trying to kill Easton Stick.
Trying to kill Easton Stick. I didn't feel bad for Easton Stick, but I was also like, you don't deserve this, man. You got like
2.5 quarters.
You got backup offensive linemen trying to block the most motivated Chris Jones in history.
Legitimately got $1 million on your ass, and he's just
right. So, $1 million bounty on you going.
And the extra motivation of I don't go to the bench until I sack you. So
I can't rest until
I can't rest.
He had 30 quarterback pressure.
Keep him in. So,
oh my God, that was.
He gets another $1 million going to the Super Bowl. I mean, he's
for deal going to the bowl. Yeah,
he's getting all of his incentives.
All that money back in training camp. It all back.
I don't know who just said Frank Clark's coming back.
Hey, let people drink. Let people drink. Let them drink.
So it's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, look, and two of those guys, Jalen Watson and Williams as well, two corners that just come in and do their job effective. And obviously because of how amazing Trey McDuffie and Jerry Snead are, they don't get talked about a lot. But whenever they're called on, you do a great job. There were a lot of times when Lamar tried to make a lot of difficult throws and he just couldn't find that window because
Josh had a great defensive play.
Yeah, the PBU,
deep route. Yeah, he did absolutely. So give him credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So along the lines of the obviously the evolution of the team, you mentioned one of Mahomes' playoff losses. The second half of the Bengals game, the obviously difficulties that he had in which he did not play well in that second half, gave the ball away twice. I think that we've seen an interesting evolution just specifically from him. And look, all of the superlatives can be given out. We talked about him having an MVP worth of playoff stats at this current moment in time. He's been flawless since that moment in 2021. Speak to just specifically within this window of since they've traded Tyreek Hill and then also kind of moving forward, the evolution of his play, his mindset, the vibe around the team from a leadership perspective, kind of what have you noticed in these last 2 years of these two Super Bowl runs that from him specifically that you've seen kind of with him interacting with his teammates and just in general?
Yeah, I mean, because he's working with Matt Nagy, as the QB coach and now offensive coordinator. I mean, EB went away, and EB, as much as I love him, he potentially could be looking for a job soon. So, not to say that he'd ever, consider coming back here. I mean, I think anybody would, but you're working with a Lamborghini here in Patrick Mahomes. Like, you're working with Ferrari. Like, it's hard to, go to a Toyota Camry. With Ferrari, it just is.
Big drop off.
Okay. It's a lot easier to accelerate when you have a Ferrari engine.
You just get in there like
Sam Howell.
The way like a NASCAR rider when they go to the regular car. You're like, what?
Yeah, he's trying to get up to 150 with Sam Howell in that watch.
Yeah, I know.
My Honda
Sam Howell there for about we got 11, 12 weeks of Sam Howell, got him pretty good, and then it's just nothing happened. So
that stick shift don't work the same.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, it's regarding your question, just like you see that dynamic. I mean, he just has to work with you. I mean, until you get it right. And I think it's interesting what he says often about the receivers. Like, if you're willing to work, then I'll work with you. And it's not like, he's got a lack of facilities. He's got a football field in his house, for goodness sake. Like, he's got the facility at Case in the Chiefs organization. Like,
come on over, guys.
If you're willing to work, you work. And it's just like, I mean, and that's what it is. Like, it's just like Rashee Rice. I mean, we talk about the receivers coach on the Chiefs right now in Embry, but like, you gotta give him some respect for working with Rashee. And the fact that Rashee is doing things that even Travis Kelce admitted he wasn't doing in his first year, reading the coverages, finding the open spots, things that the Chiefs do with staples on offense. He's doing that. And I think MVS just said, like, they had to switch their order. They had their order messed up at the beginning of the season. Like last year, it was like, we knew it was Juju, we knew it was MVS, and then everything else falls into place. Like, you get one catch, Justin, you get another catch. Like, that's how it works. And Travis was still Travis. Travis is still Travis with the S kind of cut off. Complete. He's like 9.5 of 10 Travis, but 9.5 of 10 Travis is like still a very, very good top 3 tight end in the league. So that's why I don't really find it fascinating how they talk about, tight ends. And I'm like, Travis is still a top 2 tight end, easy. And the other one, the other one he's competing with is probably the one he's playing with next Sunday. Playing against next Sunday. So, I mean, Rashee's development has been fascinating. I mean, like, he's been willing to work with it. And Rashee, we talk to him every week, and he probably say the same thing over and over and over again. He's like, I'm learning the defenses. I'm getting there. I'm learning it. I'm just working with Mahomes. I'm going to Travis. I'm trying to learn how to read the defense the way he does. Because, I mean, the way Mahomes and Travis do it is an art form. And Rashee, I mean, like, it's to the point now where defenses now know, like, oh, we need to guard 4. Like, we need to guard 4, and then hope to goodness 87, falls apart or something. So yeah, it's just it's been fascinating to watch him. And then the other guys just simply had to catch passes. I mean, like, again, we're leaving training camp thinking, oh yeah, Sky Moore's going to have a pretty good year. Didn't come to fruition. We're thinking, oh, Kadarius Toney when he's healthy, but then he missed all training camp, and then he came back and they tried to throw him into a role where he had 6 to 8 targets, and it's like, no, that's not good.
No, that's not going to.
I mean, and then you look at the rest of the depth there. I mean, you bring in Richie James, I mean, he really didn't come into play until a little later in the year, to the point where, like, they really just had 3 targets. They really just had 3 targets.
Yeah, so, and even then, it's a very small role.
Yeah, it's
very,
small.
very least impact.
I'm seeing some of the comments about Rashee and the wide receiver development. I mean, I'm just going by what Andy said. Andy credits Rashee's development to Connor. I mean, Andy's not going to say no to any of these guys. He's going to stick up for all of his coaches. I mean, that's just the obvious thing. I mean, I think Rashee I'd say it's about 60-40 between what he learned from Mahomes and Kelce and what he learned from the receivers coach. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're working with Mahomes, who's essentially an offensive coordinator at this point. And yeah, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating how that's all developed over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, you get like pretty much the last full good year of Juju out of him, where he has over 900 yards receiving. And then you had Travis, and then Travis was fixing, and then Rashee just became Juju, basically. I mean, a really good version of it too. There's much more to come. There's much more to come. Like, you think about how unstoppable would be. They really did have a nice speed burner there that was reliable, like Toney or
down the field,
Nicole Hardman. So Yeah, he's just it's fascinating how it all turned out with that offense just coming.
That's why I never
together. Because Mahomes is the guy. Like, he's the leader. Like, he's gonna make that thing spin. It goes where he goes, obviously. I think if Travis, retired, gosh, I would hope for his sake he's got another 2, 3, 4 years left of him. At a decent level. But once he retires, then it's going to be really fascinating to see what they do. But obviously they're going to try to get Noah Gray to get, ramped up. And if you see the play, if you see how many plays he's playing, like, he plays a lot of plays. A lot of it's personnel a lot. They're running that football. They like that. But he's available. So we'll see how that develops over the course of the future, when there's a future without Travis, which hopefully isn't soon, but it could be. You never know. So it's just, he'll find you, and if you're willing to work, he works with you. He'll find you. He makes it work, and then they'll bring in another. I guarantee they're going to go hard on receivers. Yes, they got crap kicks. I guarantee you.
I already asked him.
Yeah, I guarantee they're going to go hard on receivers, but they got other things to fill too. So they won a Super Bowl in a down year last year. Remember Brett Veach at the stage when he said, "This is what championships look like in a down year," and I was like, "Remember I said this was supposed to be the year they rose up from that down year."
So this was another down year. So we had 2 down years, right?
Yes.
Remember, last year was a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And then this year was a down year.
So 2 years you're not supposed to win it, but okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what to tell you. Other teams have to, this has been 6 years, and no one's figured it out yet. In the AFC, at least, no one's figured it out. The Bengals have figured it out a bit. When they're healthy, they've figured it out. But the down years are just. God forbid this team has another good year. So
that was my question, Harold. Coming into the season, knowing about the receiver room, the inexperience at the coach position for Embry, and I know he's only going to get better with time because we said it in the summer, you had the least experienced room with the least experienced coach. That's not a great combination compared to all the other groups with all the veteran leadership. If we would have told you coming into the year, Rashee Rice is going to lead the league in yak and finish the season with 900 plus yards, should have been 1,000 if he played the last game, you would have took that every day of the week. Now, it didn't look like that at the beginning of the season. We hear the stories of all the rookie receivers on the Andy. We know the mold. But Rashee's and I said this in the summer, somebody's going to break that rookie receiver curse for Andy Reid's team. Eventually, it's going to happen. So why not Rashee? So coming into the season, if we get that other veteran receiver, like you said, get somebody high in the draft, who's to say the team can't get better from what they are now? And I don't know how much better you can be from going to back-to-back Super Bowls.
What's fascinating?
Crazy to say.
Yeah, what's fascinating about Rashee is I remember being at training camp the first time he spoke, and the big storyline was he threw up.
I remember that.
That was the big storyline. Yeah,
that was funny.
He threw up, and then you're like, oh, okay, he's going to develop. And through the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, he's pretty much that guy that found a little soft spot in the zone in the middle and just ran straight. And it turned out, it's like as long as he caught the ball, go to the end zone.
That Cleveland drop in preseason, Harold, you remember that on the sideline?
We're talking about drops.
Fun time.
But you can't blame drops on anybody but yourself.
It's not a wide receiver coach thing. That's just a concentration thing.
Yeah, it's there's only so much jug machines and whatever.
You can do.
It's just
ain't no sticking now, boy.
Yeah, maturity is part of it, or maybe the realization of sometimes. And this is just for any walk of life. Sometimes there needs to be a finality to a situation of oh, I don't do this. I'm let go. I'm released. I lose money. I'm not able to provide for family. I'm not going to keep my job. Someone's going to come up. Facts. There's some finality of that where it's oh, I need to do my job now.
Get out of here if you don't.
And what we're seeing right now is a team that is doing their job. The turnover differential, it was +3 against Baltimore. That was the highest turnover differential the entire season.
Yes, sir.
+3. The penalties were way down. Sure, they had I think a weird holding penalty on Trey that took away a touchdown.
Right,
Yeah.
had the
But
back ones.
otherwise, and we had our standard Juwan Taylor holding or false start penalty. Like that's just
we bake that in. That's baked.
Like
in.
that's just you just take the total yards -10. But other than that, it was clean. The fact that we saw the other team falling apart, Baltimore, the team that used to force turnovers, did not force a single turnover. The team that Baltimore's, they're going to be penalized a bit, but like they had 4 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Like that was
in the first half.
That was bad. That led to 3 points.
Yep.
That led to 3 points in the first half. Because remember, the Chiefs started that drive their own 8 or 7, I believe. 8. So it's just, you look at all the things that the Chiefs have gotten done. I mean, like there's always that old saying, like, you take what your opponent gives you. Like, like look back at the Buffalo game. Their opponent gave them a very nervous team in the fourth quarter. Like Buffalo had the game plan and just went away from it because like something about playing the champions. It gets them, and now they're the champions again at AFC. I mean, somebody, like I said, as Roquan Smith said, good luck. Like good luck, because like I'm one of those guys now. I just look at this team like, they have the potential to go to the Super Bowl. They absolutely do, but I just need to see consistency. And throughout the postseason, again, there's one more game left.
Finish the job.
You got to finish the job here, but there's got to be consistency. If they continue that consistency, then I think we're looking at another parade. I really do. Like, just I don't see much out of San Francisco. I full credit for their comebacks. I give them credit for coming back from Detroit. I give them credit for coming back from Green Bay. But like, nobody left that game saying, "Man, Green Bay and Detroit should have won those games." So,
especially Detroit, they're like 24-7.
Honestly, I'd say especially Green Bay. Green Bay should have. So
Jordan Love, dumb interception.
Yeah. But like, a lot of other teams are looking at their own faults and their own qualms. Like, wow, we should have had them, but they didn't. Why didn't you have it? Again, you got to play the full 60. Like, you've got to have that experience, and I think experience matters at this point. The lights are not bright for this team. They know what they're doing, and it shows. And it really shows now. And it just shows they're a much more mature team. The messages got across, and I think that as I was saying, I think that finality of like guys knowing like this could be it. Yeah, like Chris Jones is out here crying before each game.
That's his signature now.
That's his signature now. He knows like that's it, but like we know it's like there's a certain finality to it. It's kind of the same way when we knew. I had a feeling Tyreek was going to be on the open market, and you kind of knew there's a finality. They're going to have to make a decision here. It was Chris or Tyreek. They obviously went with Tyreek. And now they have to make another decision, like with Chris. And I would say the overwhelming favorite is he's out of here. But, like, you never know. You never know. You never know. I'm just saying, like, he could have a change of heart and just say, like, hey, I just want to stick around here. Or it just could be the business side of things. And he had, because other teams, like, make an offer he can't refuse. Like,
exactly.
The Chiefs will. Yeah, Chiefs have been so beneficial throughout this run of teams haven't really poached from them too much. Brant Tillis is with Carolina now. That's their salary cap guru. Yeah, but I thought he could have been gone. I thought he could have been gone a long while ago. Borgonzi's another guy in there in their staff. You think he would get some looks. Poles, went to Chicago. So like personnel-wise, even if they had a big loss like Shavarius Ward, like leaving for San Francisco.
Lil Mooney.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, here comes L'Jarius Sneed. We're set. Here comes Trip McDuffie. We're set.
And here's Watson and Williams just to
get here's Watson and Williams. We got
Samari Connor, Brian Cook.
Yeah, like just Juju bounces. All right, well, here's Rashid's development. Like they're just
we got fast Juju here in the draft.
Plug and play, man. I mean, every time I sit there in training camp and look at the roster and the way the roster is designed, I'm like, oh, it's plug and play. Like people have mentioned Felix's name a lot, and I'm like, yeah, but it's plug and play. Like his time's coming. Like we don't know how good he is yet because we don't have a full sample size. But like he's done some good things, he's done some bad things. Hello, rookies do good things and bad things. I wouldn't be concerned about him at all. Like we haven't seen him fully develop. He hasn't grown into his body. He's still a young dude. He's the youngest guy in the team. So like
incredibly young, yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw similar things from George Karlaftis his rookie year and look
I mean, like
now.
Second year,
George is pressed into a situation where he was supposed to be pretty good, but like what did he do in offseason? He got with Tamba Ali. He started learning some things. He got 5.5 sacks his rookie season. He worked into now 10.5. And now if he has a great year next year, he's in for a line. He's in line for a nice contract.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about these things. Like the best thing about what Veach does, he thinks 2 years ahead. He doesn't think 1 year ahead. He thinks 2 years ahead. So now he's thinking about like, oh, I got to pay Karlaftis in a couple of years. Like I got to pay Creed, Trey next year. Like, I see Tooney, but like Nick Allegretti, he's on the cheap right now. I mean, I haven't had to pay him, but hey, he's paid. So like, I've got Jawan Taylor locked in, but what I do about Donovan Smith? Well, there's Wanye Morris.
Yep.
So it's like it's like it just keeps the wheel keeps spinning. And as long as you got 15 back there, he'll get them organized and they go from there. So.
I think there's any position like I'm most confident in Veach. He's Teflon in. I've said this forever. Arrow is DBs. Any DB that Veach picks, I'm
late round DB.
Confident.
Not just DBs, like late round DBs.
I just said if he picks a DB anywhere in the draft, I'm like he's good. I'm not worried.
Like another guy's gonna look at Shamari Connor's gonna develop. I think another guy might develop. They're gonna look Nick Jones. He might develop into somebody. So like if they have to get rid of somebody, I mean they're gonna have to make a decision. They have to pay somebody.
Facts.
Right.
Jarius and Chris demand and deserve money.
Facts.
So like one of them's getting paid.
One of them.
Or if both get paid, then a lot of other people are leaving. Like so, like
right.
I mean, that's the part of the salary cap. Like I've always said, the NFL should never have a problem with salary caps simply because it's the most popular league in the world, and you got 50 million people watching games, playoff games. Like owners can stop being that greedy and jack up the salary cap above 200. It should be 250 million, as far as I'm concerned. But that way, like he gets paid. He gets paid.
You get paid.
The trainer gets paid. Just paid. So, it's fascinating how they've been able to keep it up. It really is. I mean, like sometimes you got to step back and just kind of like I think a lot of the write-ups and the reports now have kind of shifted from they did it to like now we just have to realize there's some sustained excellence to this, and now you're just like you're going back in the day to like. Remember that time they said Mahomes was a guy. Remember that time Travis Kelce got drafted. And remember that time Chris Jones was drafted. Like you're just looking back at like, wow, they've done it. Like they've done it. I mean, like and the seasons get longer and they keep playing. I mean, like there's a Senior Bowl going on right now that 30 teams are very involved in, and they aren't. I mean, they got scouts there, obviously, but
somebody's watching.
I mean, like the NFL Combine is next month. Next month. It's
tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, like,
they're still game planning.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I mean, like, I'd be scared if I was other teams because I'm like, they get there. They usually have the next to last or last pick in the draft. They move up. Other teams don't want to help them move up because. You forget
say that again, Harold, please.
Other teams don't want to help them move up.
Thank you. I've been saying that.
Yeah. Because let's not forget. A receiver they were really interested in, right? Yep. Zay Flowers.
Duh. Yeah. He fits us.
I was actually interviewing him during the NFL draft beforehand because he was one of the guys on the red carpet. And Casey Wolf came up and hugged him. And I was like, oh, yeah, they know. He's already worked out with Mahomes and Fort Worth and everything. Like, they wanted Zay Flowers. So it's like, they wanted Zay Flowers. They couldn't get him. They found Rashee Rice. What are the two rookie wide receivers we've been talking about the entire postseason? Zay Flowers and Rashee Rice.
Who would have thought?
Like, they're doing something right with their thinking. So
they picked the 2 out of 3 outside of Puka and Lewis.
And then like
that's the only diamond.
The defensive back part, I think Dave Merritt, who I think is fantastic.
He's amazing.
He's fantastic. I mean, if he ever wanted to be a defensive coordinator, I just don't know why anybody would not want to call him. I think at that high level. I mean, he's admitted publicly that, you know, like once his kids get out of high school and everything, then he can maybe look into those ventures because he's got a son at Blue Valley.
He can play ball out there, yep.
Yeah. So, but he's getting offers, which I'm not. But it's like, look, man, you can tell it's tight. Give me somebody that's long, got some height to him,
yep,
and speed, and I'll do the rest.
Right. I can teach him what I need to teach him.
Teach the rest, and he's
absolutely. I got you.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you get a gym like Legarius who wants to be physical. You know, I think he was the second.
Jalen, yep.
Yeah, I mean, like those guys want to be physical. So, I mean, they've done their job. I mean, they've really done their job. I mean, like, again, this is a team that shows up in the draft, doesn't get help, usually picks next to last, and they still get good dudes. Yeah, John's right. Najee Johnson, who's coming off the AC, he's going to come off the ACL injury next year. He was having a great training.
I was about to say they were excited about him in training camp.
Najee and Nick.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I thought Nick was good. I mean, Nick contributed on special teams a lot this year, but I thought Nick was, you know, pretty good. So like, the wheels just keep spinning. I mean, that's really how it works. I mean, I'm not trying to be like overconfident about the Chiefs and their development, but like, there's a program. There's a program where like in the NFL, it's so important to get your franchise quarterback, and they've got that, and they're gonna ride that train until Travis or Andy decides we're good. And I mean, like Andy's found a fountain of youth with Patrick there. I think Travis has found a fountain of youth, and those are postseason players. Like those are guys who are like, we're playing in front of we're the standalone game tonight. We will be there. We will play hard. Yeah, I mean, Travis is playing inspired. I mean, I'm walking over there in Baltimore in the field, and there's guys screaming, "You're the second best tight end in the AFC," and I was like,
"Ooh, don't poke the bear." Don't get
I'm like, yeah, sure. Went behind Dawson Knox, behind Darren Waller. He's not with Las Vegas anymore.
Y'all go ahead and check out what he's about to do to your all-pro safety and tell me after the game he's the second best tight end in the AFC.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton had not given up a single touchdown to a tight end the entire season.
And it took him 3 plays to give up one to Travis.
From a ball that was placed where only Travis could get it to.
Money.
So,
give me that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
back
like,
shoulder, back hip.
Yeah,
give me that.
But they've done this. We've seen their opening script work well last 3 weeks. So, like, yeah, I mean, again, you know, I leave it up to other teams. And I say this win or lose next Sunday. I mean, I would still think the same way about this team, even if they happen to lose Sanford, because it's a one-off. Like, it's a one game. It's not like it's
a one game.
You know, things can happen. Freak things can happen. But like, they're set for success, and they're more set for success than like most people would think. You know, I can see the fan perspective of like, oh, well, it was up and down, and this, that, and the third happened, and we lost this, we lost that, and I'm like, yeah, I mean. Yeah, like the Denver game stunk. I get that. I mean, that wasn't great, but I think the team was tired, like very, very tired, and they knew they had to go to Germany the next week. Yeah. I mean, like so that's why I went back to like I think the Packers just got them. Give credit to the Packers on that one. I think the Raiders just came in and punked their ass.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be real. The Raiders came in and punked their butt.
Yeah.
And Andy's even admitted, like, I think that woke them up, like, oh, things got to get together in a hurry. And
that's what I respect most about this run, Harold. I was having that thought today. Anytime you have a dynasty run, like you said, you have to figure out ways to win because it's not going to be the same formula every year. Because the league is too good. People figure you out. The thing I respect most about this run, they figured out their identity and they've won in different ways to not how the offense has to carry the load. And like Chris Jones has said it and Pat has said it, we've had to admit who we are. We're a defensive-led football team right now. And the fact that they admitted that and they actually, like DG always said on multiple of our other episodes, if they just lean into our identity and accept that and be who you are, be a physical football team, play defense, run the football, make sure Pacheco is featured, you'll figure out a way to win football games. And once they did that, they flipped that switch that everybody thought they couldn't flip. But once the Miami game started, he woke up the playoff monster. So, and here where we are again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing I think you're spot on. The only thing I really add to that is think about what Andy Reid said, or Patrick said afterward. We said like, "Hey, I just take this sack and punt and give it back to our defense."
They're not scoring.
They're not scoring. Like we'll just get another opportunity. Like he's learned. He doesn't like we used to see the Patrick of I've got to make a play, and maybe it wasn't because of the defense. Sometimes it was the defense. Swag surfing was not the turning point.
They love it, Harold. That's their moment.
They love it. Even though all those guys went on social media and said, like, what's wrong with the DJ? That's something.
We got one right.
They need to hire this guy right here.
Guy right here. He got to get it right.
This guy right here.
Hire that guy right there. He'll get it right.
Yeah, it's where were we? I lost my train of thought there. I saw Swag Circle. I was like, what is I love how people don't realize first off, I love how people don't realize that song's like 16 years old.
Yeah.
Talking about like 2008. And this song is super old.
Yeah. I was like out of college by then. I was like, I see all the colleges of a song.
White people know Harold. I don't think the white
I know. We
know. I don't think they know Harold. We know.
We know. But yeah, it's but it's fascinating how they say, hey, I'll gladly just take the punt. I'll take the punt. I'll take the sack and.
Second half,
let the defense do their thing.
The best in the league.
He knew the only thing that could turn the game was a turnover, and he was like, "I'm going to take care of this."
Turnover. What bothered him the entire season? Turnovers, penalties, drop passes. What have they not done the entire postseason? Turnovers, penalties, drop passes.
There you go.
Clean.
That's the biggest thing. So, as we move into the Super Bowl, I mean, the last time this team obviously had the chance to go back to back, you talk about it being a one-off and an anomaly. Obviously, they didn't have an offensive line. They were calling out, practice squad players up. I mean, for them to be kind of going for this opportunity in, what I like to call their desert Arrowhead, kind of summer home out there in Vegas. I mean, do you feel like this is a team that is more equipped to seize the moment as far as back-to-back titles are concerned, not just because of the health, but just in general because of the experience that they've been through? Or do you think, it's just kind of one of those things where they're not going into this game without their offensive line and that gives them a better chance flat out?
Against Hall of Famer D lineman.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think I know what you're talking about, but if they continue to be put as the underdog in games, that gives them all the confidence in the world.
Good job. 2.5. I'll take it, Harold.
Yeah, I think 1.5 now, but
the line move.
It went to 1. Now it's back to 1.5.
Back to 1.5.
Vegas doesn't know what they want.
In the great words of Shaq, 1-2 back to 1. So 1-2. It's I'm really fascinated for this game in this sense because I remember the storylines in the other game against San Francisco, and San Francisco's defense was fantastic that year. And then Mahomes and them came back when, time to run Wasp and Tyreek Hill, down 21-10, got it going. I still say Damian Williams should have been MVP of that game. That's just me.
Facts.
They had a great game.
By the way, Damian Williams, I hope he's okay. Prayers to him. I hope things are, that's not good. That's not good news to hear about him. But I only bring it up because, people are like, we should try to revisit the players that were on that team that might, want to talk. I was like, well, I don't think you can talk to Damian Williams right now. He's a little caught up in some stuff.
Just a little bit.
Just sadly. Like the storyline was like, how are they going to do against that defense? And that defense did pretty well for a little bit. But the one thing San Francisco hasn't figured out yet is quarterback. I mean, Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll give him that. And the weapons around are there. And then, they have Christian McCaffrey now. But, they played last season in San Francisco. I was at that game. And that was the best offensive performance of the Chiefs the entire season.
Start to finish, they dominated.
Yeah, start to finish. McCole Harbin had
3 touchdowns. All the same play.
On indirect. So
just gonna keep running the jet sweep. Nick Bosa was in hell the entire game.
I wouldn't be incredibly confident. for one, this is not going to be the Arrowhead West that people think it is because those tickets are incredibly expensive.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about $8,000 just to get in the building.
That's a crazy point.
I heard like a full package just to get through the week is like $21,000. Like this is not going to be Arrowhead West. There will be Chiefs fans there, but may I also remind you that people in San Francisco have money and they have direct flights to Vegas too. So, and like unlike the last game where it was in Miami, this one's much closer to San Francisco. So, and they travel
like another road game, right?
Yeah, I mean, but this will be.
We like it like that, don't we?
This will be a little more neutral than you think it will be. But I mean, regardless, San Francisco comes with the exact same questions. Are they going to be able to stop a complex offense like Kansas City? And the defense they're facing is a hell of a lot better than the defense they faced 4 years ago. In regards to Kansas City's defense.
Night and day, honestly.
And
I love that defense, but that's
I'm excited to see Spags empty the tank. I mean,
everything on the line. Like
the blitzes he's going to bring. I don't know
if he's facing a superhuman at quarterback. He doesn't have to
worry about guy that Brock, to his credit, had a couple clutch runs in the second half against Detroit.
Right.
But you're not
Josh Allen.
I think they're facing they're facing the fourth best quarterback this postseason in this game. I would say Tua is even better than Brock. That's no disrespect to Brock. I just
don't get them started here. You said it, not us.
I think very highly of Tua. I think very highly of Josh. I think very highly of Lamar.
Lamar, 2-time MVP.
But I mean, Brock he's not a system quarterback. He's done a lot of good things on his own credit. I hate the system quarterback thing because you can make that same. I mean, if you're going to say system quarterback, then everybody's a system quarterback because they all play for a damn system.
Exactly.
I think the whole system quarterback thing is just made up by people that just watch college football. So, I mean, Brock's got a lot of college under his belt with Iowa State. He pretty much played from his freshman year. Shout out to the Big 12. They have another Big 12 quarterback matchup.
Yep.
This was a pure Big 12 matchup because it's Texas Tech and Iowa State.
Jalen Hurts was a little bit of a hybrid.
Jalen was a hybrid.
Oklahoma.
I mean, I just think about Brock, to his credit, has come out and won 2 games. He has. In the second half, he's come out, but he's looked awful the first couple half.
Facts.
And
you do that against this defense?
The Chiefs, to their credit, have come out firing pretty good offensively. At least they've scored. I think it was in the Miami game, it was a touchdown, a couple field goals, and Buffalo game they still had 13. This game they had 17.
17, yeah.
They've done their job, and in the second half, I mean, that second half where the 49ers have played really well offensively and the Chiefs have played really well defensively, that's going to tell you the whole story.
Amen.
But I just think Spags still got plenty left in the tank with that thing.
Second half Spags.
And
I think Andy has a lot left in the tank too.
And I think they've got a lot left.
A couple good ones coming in.
They continually save and create. And I mean, Andy, it's been well talked about with his bye week, what his record is. Of course, that hasn't been too good. They're on 2 after a bye week this year. I mean, they had the offseason to prepare for the Lions, and they lost that game. And then they had the bye week. They played the Eagles and lost that game. So,
we'll give them 1 and 2. We'll give them 1 and 2 because the Chargers was a little bit of bye week. So they won the Miami game. So we'll give them 1 and 2.
Sure, if you want to give them perfect. Don't tell the Blaine Gabbert though. He tried his butt off in that game.
Blaine was running.
He was running. Yeah, his hamstring was running.
Who was faster, Chad Henne on the first down for Cleveland or Blaine Gabbert in that game? Who was faster?
Chad Henne was blazing, man.
Chad Henne was running.
That's like comparing a snail versus a snail.
Somebody
had to win, I guess. Yeah,
somebody got to win.
But it's I think that's really what it's going to come down to: the Chiefs' defense and how they make their adjustments. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, he's a great coach. I mean, you got the McCaffrey and Shanahan trying to win a Super Bowl, just like McCaffrey and Shanahan won a Super Bowl for the Broncos back in the late 90s. So, that's an interesting angle too. But Yeah, it's going to be interesting how that all shapes out. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, there's a reason why San Francisco is the favorite.
Yep.
I was telling my wife this earlier. It's like, look, those Vegas lines. I wouldn't read too much into them. They're for making money.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not for who the things are. They're for making money.
Money.
Yeah.
And happily take it.
Public betting.
Happily take it, Harold. Happily take it.
Yeah, I mean, and they know that. Oh, you're going to take money on the Chiefs because we put the 49er favorite. Yeah, it's enticing, isn't it? They're here to make money. So, but yeah, I mean, again, really boils down to like take care of the football. Don't do anything stupid. Don't have a lot of penalties. You know, don't just freak out and start dropping the ball all of a sudden. I mean, that's the only thing that's one of the few things that does concern me because they're so inconsistent this year. You're like, boy, you guys have been you've really put it all together in the last 4 games that counted. I mean, like, I'm just waiting for
I wonder why, Harold.
The shoe to drop.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people that need to get dropped. Simple as that. You know, like
cut off the fat, trim the fat.
Yeah, they trimmed the fat. Yeah. I mean, they did. So I mean, they absolutely did. I mean, they had to. Isn't that again? It's about winning now. So
winning time.
Yeah.
It's not about development. It's not about let's get people up to speed. It's about
win you got a whole offseason to go, but you're trying to win.
Win the game.
You have any other underrated storylines for the Super Bowl? I mean, you mentioned obviously the McCaffrey Shanahan angle is a little bit interesting. I mean, anybody that you find to be a fascinating character. I think that Charles Omenihu would have been a fascinating character had he
old team.
That whole thing against his former team. Yeah.
God, that was gonna be.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer. I mean, I can't understate how well he had been playing I mean, he had 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
With being suspended, and he came back like having one of a great year, a great year. And then, but other storylines. I mean, you've got the like premier quarterback in the league versus Mr. Irrelevant. Can you shed that language? I mean, like. I can think of a former 7th round quarterback who did pretty well and was just picked on a whim. Yeah. You know, he turned out all right.
Never know.
Yeah, you never know. But I think Trent Williams at left tackle versus, like say if they put Jones out on the edge or, Carl Loftus. I mean, I think the 49ers offensive line is kind of really good. Steve Spagnuolo is going to try to stop the run first. But, I mean, Snead versus Ayuk, that's going to be pretty – I mean, Ayuk's a pretty good receiver. I mean, Debo's health is another one. Like, how's that shoulder? He said after the game he's in pain. He admitted he's in pain. So he's going to play, but –
he ain't going to feel good. That's
going to hurt.
What's the percentage?
He's going to feel it all game.
Yeah, what's the percentage level we get out of Debo? I mean, but, like, just like they're trying to stop that number 1 rushing attack with Baltimore, they know the head of the horse is McCaffrey. They got to stop him. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating. I mean, but again, like I was at the game in San Francisco last year, and they pummeled their butt, and I just like being smart about this leads me to believe that the Chiefs win. I wouldn't say comfortably, but like. In a medium stress environment, they should win this game.
Andy don't blow nobody out anyway. So
but I mean, like, yeah. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, like that's going to be it. I mean, I remember talking about this every storyline in the Super Bowls have had a different one. Like the first one was, it's the first one. The second one was. How the hell did they do with the offensive line? Well, we know how that happened. And last year was like, holy crap, the Eagles are really good, and their defensive line had the most sacks in the league. Well, the Ravens had the most sacks in the league at 60, and they handled it. So, I mean, personally, I think we saw the Super Bowl last week, but that's just me.
Hey, that's what we said in the Spaces this week, Harold. We said the same thing. That was the biggest matchup. So.
Yeah,
I felt the exact same. I thought that was going to be the toughest challenge for this team. I mean, because the Ravens have the ability to be so stout on defense, which we saw in the second half, and how they can give you different looks as far as their defense coordinator obviously just got a head coaching job. And I thought Lamar Jackson's a superhuman. And he made some superhuman plays, but still that defense was able to handle him.
Another good,
kind of get him
another good storyline is if they do win, how long do they stay in Vegas? Do they even try to? I mean, like,
we're gonna push the parade back to the
parade. Yeah, I mean, like,
right?
I mean, you saw what they did last year. They all went to Vegas and just had a time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're already there.
They had a concert at their hotel afterward. I think like the Chainsmokers and Rick Ross or whatever. Like they had people. I mean, they're already there.
Already there.
Well, who do you think lasts longer in Vegas, them or Taylor Swift? Because she's got a concert.
She's got to go back, right?
Oh, yeah, she got
a concert. She got to go to Australia.
She got to go and go right back.
They can afford to stay.
I mean, of all times to have a concert in Tokyo, Japan. You know, it's not like you're having a concert in Charleston, South Carolina.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're having you're in the Tokyo Dome. So,
right.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be real. I mean, obviously that angle and how that plays out throughout the course of the week is going to be interesting. But because she was out there on the field, I mean, like I'm walking off. Yeah. I'm like, I see her walking off the field. I'm right there, you know, walking off, and it was really cool. I got somebody from the Baltimore paper was taking a picture of her walking off, and I'm sitting there like this, you know, like with my mic out, and I'm like, and somebody, and I'm here like looking at it, and she's like staring straight this way, and I'm like staring this way, and I screenshot it, sent it to my dad. I was like, hey, look who I met. We're friends now. And he's like, are you a Swiftie? And I'm like, I mean, I'm a Tribe Called Krusty, but not a Swiftie.
Tribe Called Quest.
I'm a Q-tippy, I guess. I don't know if that
yeah, I mean,
I'm a Kanye, whatever that was.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, because I was like, I mean, I respect her for what she's done. My God, I respect her for what she's done. Good Lord, I mean,
big star.
She's a billionaire. I mean, true story. Like before this whole thing became a thing, I only really knew Taylor Swift for her obvious "Shake It Off" and a couple other songs that she did. But like, I'm a Nashville native, and she went to high school in Hendersonville, which is a suburb of Nashville. Because she started off as a country music person.
Yeah, country. Yeah,
and she like sung at this place called Bluebird Cafe, which is in Green Hills, which is a place I went to often. So I mean, like where she got her start, I was like at the Donut Den down the street, but like I know that's where she was doing her thing. So yeah, I mean, God bless her. I mean, I wish Travis and her the best of luck. I mean, like it's funny how like if she ever left, or Travis ever left, I mean that guy's set. That guy's set. That guy's set. So,
they got the crib. They got the crib next to Pat. They ain't got to worry about nothing now.
Yeah, he's got a nice little crib. You know, she can come by anytime. She does her tours. You know, hubby's home. You know, like
life is good.
Got the chef. You know, he's got a nutritionist. Like, you know, they're good.
Right. Live life now.
So along the lines of kind of, you know, the spectacle that's coming up in Vegas, I mean, obviously it'll be a lot different than it was in Tampa, given the COVID stuff. Miami was, you know, a little bit of a spectacle. Certainly Arizona maybe was a little bit more understated. It's not necessarily Miami, but given it's going to be in Vegas, I mean, what do you expect as far as compared to Super Bowls past, and what is it like kind of the entire weekend that spectacle is going there? Obviously from Radio Row perspective, but just Super Bowl media night into the actual game and everything that entails from a media perspective.
The Super Bowl media.
The week is a grind. You know, like you get there Sunday and you're just at it. I mean, the plane lands, you're doing stuff. I think Vegas will be different because they've tried to locate the teams as far away from paradise to Vegas, from the Strip as possible. And that's going to be helpful. I think that I mean they're going to be down there Monday for the big media day, which I mean the amount of tripods in front of Travis Kelce's little podium dais Monday is going to be
ridiculous.
You know, that's ET, that's extra, that's world media.
Yeah,
I mean it's nasty.
Let's take a shot for every Taylor Swift question.
That might be the hardest thing he does this week. That might be the hardest thing.
I already know.
You think the double teams that the Niners are going to be bad at?
Yeah,
about
no,
to get 100
Taylor
teams.
Swift question.
If you ever truly literally got double teamed from a Vietnamese and Taiwanese reporter going back to back saying something you have no idea about, it's going to be, good luck. But
good luck.
But I mean, you just there's so many people there. I mean, there's so many appearances. There's NFL guys right and left. You mentioned Radio Row. You got people walking around. I mean, you just run into people. I mean, last year you just randomly run into Donovan McNabb. You randomly run into Michael Vick, and last year we were fortunate because it was a Fox game. So I mean, we had the Fox crew talk with Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson and Michael Vick, and I guess next year it'll be Tom Brady because when the Super Bowl's on Fox again,
take over.
Keeps you there. So.
Which I'm kind of sad about because I think Greg Olson is really
Greg's doing a great job. But I mean,
doing good.
Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady.
It's Brady. Somebody
as they like to say in the business, it's like it's a business. So
right.
And we've all been at fault for that. So it's it's gonna be a real fascinating week. How they try to seclude themselves in Vegas, focus on football. They had their little time to talk to media, and you get it out of the way. You move on you do as much as you possibly can. Because everybody's available for like 45 minutes to an hour. So you get your angles. You're just asking the questions that you need. Sometimes you have to wait in line for, BBC to finish up things. But yeah, I mean, and then once Thursday's over, I mean, Friday, it's Saturday, it's party central. I mean, there's going to be so many things in Vegas party. I mean, but the tickets to get in, I mean, you get some emails and you see the tickets just to get in. You're like, crap, I don't have that much money in my wallet right now. So like, I mean, it's Vegas. It's like it's going to be it's going to be a unique spectacle. I'm surprised. I mean, I know the NFL. I know why the NFL is doing it, but I'm surprised. Like when it's here and you're like, oh, Vegas is going to be rough.
Wow.
It's going to be wild. I mean, next year is New Orleans, and I feel like that's gonna be like, that's fine in New Orleans. That's fine. And I mean, for me, I went to college in New Orleans. I have family in New Orleans. Like that's my whole mom's side of the family. If I go to New Orleans, I'm probably just gonna go home. Like I'm gonna see some family. I'll be like, I'll see y'all whenever. Yeah, it's gonna be real fascinating how that all plays out. I'm just like, I mean, the smartest thing is again they're in Lake Las Vegas. They're darn near at the Hoover Dam. Like. They had to be as far away as possible from the thing. Yeah. Focus on football, and they just got to be in their own little secluded little world for both teams. Because that's the only way that's really going to work out for all of them. So it's going to be a fascinating week. It's going to be a fascinating week.
What's the biggest adjustment that you want to do going into this Super Bowl that like to make your job easier, like things you didn't get to do last time that you want to do this year?
Well, see, at my station we rotate, so my job's going to be a lot easier because I ain't going. So I'm going to be here.
There you
go.
I know how it's going to be though. I mean, I've been through it even the COVID week when we were, doing it basically everything here until Saturday. That was still kind of grindy, because like you still had to be you had 10 Zooms going on at once. Yeah. And you're like, I need to ask Nick Bolton a question. Let me get a line. I need to ask Frank Clark a question. Let me ask Tyreek Hill a question. Let me ask Nick Allegretti. Like you're just like
right. Yeah.
Andy Reid. Like, and then like you just quit on like players like Patrick. Is like you're never gonna be in line. Or like you get in line with Patrick.
You're never gonna be in line.
So like by the 12th or 13th question, you're there. And you're like, oh, fuck you. I gotta ask you this one question, Patrick. Thank you for your time. I gotta move on. Like so yeah, I mean that's going to be interesting, but like I mean just the weekend itself is, I mean, like I get the whole lineup of like when they talk, when they do things. I mean, it's morning. The Chiefs are morning. They do everything in the morning as early as possible. So you're up and at it at 7. Who knows where you're staying? The media hotel's the Luxor, which is actually right now the big burrito.
Yeah,
the big burrito this time. So but the Luxor to the Chiefs training facility is about a good 35, 40-minute drive. So, I mean, you're up at 7. You're getting interviews. You're doing your thing, and then you're lining up your story for 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 6:30 and 9 o'clock and 9:30. Oh, you're 2 hours behind. So, you have to remember that stuff due at 4 o'clock is really due at 2 o'clock there.
2 o'clock.
And 3 o'clock. And I mean, like whenever you see a story, you're just like, go to it. And just like, I got to get this thing done. I got bing, 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 you get it done. So, I mean, it's a busy week. They like to say the payoff is the actual Super Bowl. And I'm like, dude, that's the part where it's like kind of like,
yeah,
barely awake.
Yeah, I can barely stay awake.
I mean,
Rihanna's playing.
Yeah, I know.
That's
The funny part is you're watching in the press box and you're like, kind of like, because I remember watching Rihanna last year and I was like, huh, okay.
That's Rihanna.
That's Rihanna. And well, I'm like, it's made for TV.
Yeah,
right.
Because I'm like, I'm looking at it from a wide angle the entire time. You know, it's not like, I look up, I'm like, oh, so that's what she's doing. And then you look back, yeah,
it looks great on the screen, but
it looks great. Yeah, so I mean, like,
what's she doing?
The stuff I did beforehand, like I did a lot beforehand. Like I interviewed Doug Williams beforehand, which was awesome, considering he was the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl, and of course, the momentous occasion of 2 black quarterbacks competing in the Super Bowl. I thought that was really cool.
They honored him on the field before the game, which is nice.
Yeah, and they honored him on the field before the game. Obviously, the whole Donna Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey thing. Interviewed Donna Kelsey, the NFL Honors, which was on that Thursday night. That was awesome. That was pretty cool. I mean, you get a lot of stuff out of it. So, I mean, it's a busy week. It keeps you occupied. I mean, like, you don't have really a hell of a lot of time to really break. I'd say Friday's like the one time. And I got lucky because I interviewed Louis Riddick.
I know he's a great interview.
Yeah, he's great. He was fantastic.
We need to get him on the pod.
Yeah, and he was like, that was like my entire Friday evening. just the interview with Louis Riddick. So like,
that's fire. That's fire.
He was great. He was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, you just try to organize and use whatever contacts you can to get whatever you can. I mean, I was exhausting every resource I had trying to get that. So it was good, man. But I mean, and then the Super Bowl itself, like, you play where the Raiders are playing, but completely different experience. I mean, like, yeah, we were playing where the Arizona Cardinals were playing, but I guarantee you that it didn't feel like a Cardinals game.
Right.
Like the place,
you were there the week 1, right?
Yeah, the place feels bigger. If that makes any sense, it just feels like.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the stadium just feels a little bigger. Like to use the old Hoosiers example, like, I mean, I know the field's 100 yards by 53, but it just feels like
feels longer.
Feels a little longer. Feels bigger. So like, yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, it's fun. It's exhausting, but it's fun. And then you just try to meet as many people as you can. You make some contacts that you hope stick. And
networking.
Yeah.
Name of the week.
Yeah, it's networking. I mean, like you run by a grumpy Peter King, and you're running
grumpy
by.
Peter.
I mean, like, but you really do. Like, you're just like, oh, that's that guy. Like, I've seen him forever. That's that young lady.
He's been to 40 of these, and he's sick and tired of it.
Exactly.
He's sick and tired of it.
Yeah. So,
is Dan Patrick grumpy, or is
as
nice as people claim he is?
Yeah. Dan Patrick, I've never met him, so I wouldn't know. I mean, there's a guy. If we're talking about people who've called Super Bowls, I know there's one guy I don't like, Mike Tirico.
Really?
He's a piece of
Not
shit.
My guy. Harold says don't like.
Oh man.
Yeah. Old Italian Mike Tirico. Yeah.
No, true story. I was in grad school at Syracuse, and he was doing a speaking thing, and I went over afterward. And I wanted to introduce myself, and because I was interning at the same station he worked at Syracuse, I had like an arm, and my wrist was like fractured at the time, so I really should be able to shake hands. So I came over here, and he's like this tall. But I came over there, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Harold Kuntz. I'm a graduate student here, and I've always admired your work. And I was trying to be like a hey, brother to brother type thing." And he literally told me straight to my face, "He's like, oh, that's great. I'm going to go over here and talk to some graduate students." Dang. I told him I was in graduate school.
That's what I'm saying. You just said that. Like, that's me.
Yeah, like I am a graduate. And he went over to talk to all the white guys. So I was like, And it was me and
like
another.
I said,
it was me and another black.
Italian.
It was me and another black guy there. He said,
Old
"Screw
Italian.
you guys, we're talking to these other guys." So,
like I said, old Italian Mike Rico.
And I came up to him again, and like right after he was done talking, and I was like, "Well, maybe there's a miscommunication." Went over there, came up, and introduced myself again, and he's like, "Oh, that's nice. Best of luck," and then walked right away. He didn't believe my ass. So
disrespect.
Yeah, no.
Disrespect.
Saw him again in Kansas City when they came by, and like same thing happened. I just waved, tried to introduce myself, like walked right by, but shook the hand of some dudes right behind me. I'm like, screw you, dude.
Forget that guy.
You're done. So, and I mean, like, we don't need to revisit all the bad things said about him from ESPN books written about ESPN time and a bunch of other things. So
I didn't know none of this.
But you know what? He's a really good broadcaster, so that's why he's kept his gig.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, he just ain't the greatest person to be around. He's no Bob Costas. Bob Costas has been nice.
Yeah.
Bob Costas will give you time. Bob Costas was like, I'll talk about whatever the hell you want. I'll talk for as long as you want, man. I'll give you whatever time I got. So it depends. It's the business. Some people are the way they are. No, I
know that's country. I know that's country.
Yeah,
I've met Jason.
we got two exclusives. C-Dot gave us exclusive on Whitlock, and you gave us your Tarico story. So.
Oh, geez. What was the C-Dot Whitlock story? I'm curious now.
Oh, yeah. It's on our previous episode. You should go watch it.
I got to go back.
It's pretty spicy.
It was a good one, too.
Was it like as bad as I think it could be?
Yeah.
Kind of similar to yours. It's kind of similar. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it was along the same lines.
Yeah.
So getting back to the Chiefs and actually kind of along the same lines of beef. We've seen this team kind of get into a few issues with other teams. Certainly last week we had the Mahomes and Tucker and Kelsey type of thing, and a little bit of beef beforehand. I mean, amongst kind of these AFC rivals, Jaguars are kind of the earliest one, I suppose, in this iteration of this run. Obviously, with the Bengals back and forth. Do you have a favorite kind of interaction that you've had to cover in your time, Harold, as well? And I'm going to ask DG and CJ which one they
favorite type of interaction. I'm trying to think.
Like a little crosstown beef, that you were like, oh wow, they really don't like each other before this game.
Right, just Chiefs with another NFL team related, or just Well, I thought the Jamar Chase, Willie Gay thing back and forth has been pretty fascinating. It's just fascinating in the sense that like Jamar Chase was basically saying exactly what Willie Gay said the previous year, and their little back and forth. And I mean, that's part of the game, though. I mean, what's the game without a little bit of trash talk? I mean,
little jabs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but I mean, when it's on the field, it's on the field. Like, business is handled on the field, right? So those questions. I mean, like, I know, like you mentioned the Jaguars. I know, like Kelsey and a couple of the Jaguars players got into it afterward. But I think it really is the Chiefs versus everybody. Pat Mahomes Sr. had the Kansas City versus everyone shirt. I mean, like
the Philly blood
with the he called it the Lamar Jackson special blend. That's what he had.
I had it came in from Cuba,
Yeah, it came in from Cuba. Yeah. So I got the special blend. I'm like
the special blend.
Like, I'm just wondering, can we get to every team now so I can hear the nickname? Like, if they played Detroit, what is this?
Jared Goff Gelato? Is that what?
Yeah, I got the Motor City blend. I'm curious. Whatever. Like, we had the Philly Blunts, we had Joe Burrow. Shout out Aaron on that one. And then
man,
what are you gonna call the San Fran one?
Yeah, I'm just what is it called? The treat?
What do you call it?
Yeah, I'm smoking the San Francisco treat. Like
San Francisco blood.
Yeah, I got that trolley wag. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
That Mr. 40 water.
Yeah, I know. It's the Golden Gate special. He has a name for all of it. Like,
he coming off the fly. He don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in my time. I mean, like, I always thought the Willie Gay, Jamar Chase one's been pretty fun. I mean, you can tell the Bengals despise them.
Yeah.
You can tell that. You can tell they despise
which makes it fun. Which
Yeah.
makes what's fun.
For the storyline,
Yeah, I mean, like if the Bengals had Burrow still, I mean, I think, the guy Phil Browning was doing a pretty good job, quite frankly. But I mean, man, like the Bengals still gave him a pretty hard time in that game, and they had Browning. I mean, they still did. So like, if they have Burrow next year, and let's also factor in the Bengals, I think they get a third place schedule or a last place schedule this year. They get a last place schedule.
Last place schedule.
Yeah. So that's going to help them out. So that's going to be fascinating with that next year. But yeah, I mean, I've always the Bengals Chiefs back and forth has been fun to watch. I mean, there's been a couple other weeks where we had something back and forth. I know Justin Reed had this thing about like couldn't tell who was what in the Bengals with numbers and.
You're hating her.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and for a time there, I mean, they didn't really say a lot, but I think Mahomes' personal beef with Tennessee was a thing for a little bit until like Titans just didn't have enough, like they couldn't compete. But like, you forget like there's very few teams that have just absolutely blasted the Chiefs, and the Titans were one of them. They're one of them. So like
Tennessee,
and I remember before the game, like he usually never cusses the podium, but like. They asked him before that Sunday night game, like, yeah, Tennessee, beat it. He's like, yeah, they kicked our ass. And I want to – he, like, made sure, like, ass. Like, he wanted to make sure.
I'm getting my
leg not happy. So, he was not happy at all. So, I mean, there's been – I mean, I wouldn't say it's a beef per se, but, like, there's just a recognition of, like, that defense has got my number a little bit. I want to find a way. So, I mean, but, like, you switch to beef. Think about like Brady and Mahomes. Brady respects the living hell out of Mahomes now. They could have easily have had beef, and Brady's got the wins to back it up. But like, he respects Patrick as a competitor, and I think everybody's learning. I think, as I said way earlier now, like you respect Patrick as a competitor, and you just have to be very respectful of the fact that like when he turns it on, like you got playoff Patrick. I mean, you got. Petty Patrick, you got a problem. So, but I mean, the Bengals beef has always been, that week delivers. Somebody's going to say something just because they can't help themselves. So it's somebody,
we got to keep the rivalry going somehow.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Do you guys have anyone that you guys stand out? I mean, Bengals have always been kind of, obvious. I personally like Buffalo because Buffalo's just fun to make sad. Personally, I don't know.
That's a respectful rivalry.
Right.
Yeah, that's a respectful rivalry. I mean, because they know they're going to end up playing each other every year. I mean, kind of like the Bengals, but again, a lot of it was taken out of the way this year just because Burrow was out. But that's a respectful rivalry just because Mahomes and Allen is well documented. They're friends, like outside of the football field. They're golfing buddies. So, like, I mean, Mahomes was openly talking about before the game with Josh Allen, like, there's going to be bragging rights. I take it, playing against your friends actually much more, personal than it is playing against somebody you don't know. You really want to beat them for bragging rights. So. Josh. I mean, that was good. I mean, it's a good game, but it's a classy game. Yeah, it's a classy game. So, and then, but the Bengals there. I don't think there's much class in that one.
That's pure hatred.
And I mean, now one that could be something in the future. Houston could be interesting, but in the future could be interesting.
I just feel like they're next up with CJ.
D'Amico played under Andy. And D'Amico's been he's respectful about it, but there's enough stuff out there to realize that D'Amico wasn't really a big fan of his time in Philadelphia either. So there could be something there. If Houston plays at a high level like they could. I mean, like, but like the Dolphins was never going to be a real big thing just because they know Tyreek talks, Like they know Tyreek. He's just gonna talk. Like whenever he says something, they're like, "Oh, it's just Tyreek." You know, he talks.
Being Tyreek. Yeah,
but they know they love him, and he knows they love him. Tyreek was in KC. Like I saw him in the airport when we were coming back from Baltimore. He was here.
Right.
Yeah, he was hanging out. I mean, I think it was some family stuff, but he was here. I mean, he comes back often. So again, for family stuff. So
Tyreek after the game said he pressed me back to Cancun, which was
he's like, y'all boys
Tyreek,
man. Y'all boys are playing, man.
I mean, the problem with the Chiefs is they don't know what Cancun is.
I don't think they plan on it.
Yeah, they don't know what Cancun is. They go to Cancun in the middle of the season. Bye week. Yeah. So, I think there was one game Chris Jones was like, "Hey, we need to hurry this press conference up because I have a plane ready. Like I need to go. Like so,
get out of here.
Yeah, like, hurry up. We won. I played great. Defense played outstanding. Complimentary, whatever. Let's go. Let's go."
That's funny.
So to end it off, I mean, because we've heard a lot of parallels between this team trying to reach that last stage of being dynastic and completing with the third Super Bowl. I mean, you mentioned obviously Chiefs versus the world, it feels like. I mean, do you think that they can reach, if they win the Super Bowl, kind of that final level of Patriots hatred just around the league where everybody is sick and tired of them and they want them to lose every single game? Because it feels like we're teetering on the edge of that. Like compared to what it was.
It's not a teeter anymore. It's there.
It's there.
It's there. And it's not just because of the Taylor Swift stuff. I mean, honestly, in a given broadcast, you want to know what bothers me more? There's a State Farm commercial like every commercial break with Mahomes or Kelsey. That bothers me more than Taylor.
You see them every other commercial.
Because I'm like, dog, who at State Farm convinced the NFL to have this many commercials of them during the game?
They got every slot. I swear to God, every time.
That's more annoying to me than Taylor's not annoying. Like, that's annoying, but
they got the Subway commercial, the Experian commercial.
Yeah, but you know how it is. It's like,
them USAA commercials with Grunt.
Yeah, like, but I've said this before, and I think it's really come down to me. It comes down to this: it's you always cheer for the underdog in March Madness, right? Mm-hmm. Like the first round or two, like you're always like, oh, I hope Fairleigh Dickinson wins. I hope Belmont wins. I hope like
FAU wins.
Florida Atlantic. It's great.
Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, like Florida Gulf Coast. I want those teams to win. Like me, I like rooting for the HBCU in the first round, even though I know they got no chance. But I want to see Hampton win. Southern win. Like, but at the end of the day, the big teams are going to come through. The big teams are going to come through. And it's proven. Like, we watch the teams we hate. We watch the teams that are powerhouses. You watch Duke play North Carolina because you might hate Duke, you might hate North Carolina, or you might really like Duke, or you might really like North Carolina. You don't watch North Carolina Greensboro versus Coastal Carolina. Like, that's just how it works. Like, the Chiefs are the team, and people hate watching the Chiefs, and people love watching the Chiefs, and that's everybody. So
they love the hater.
They love the hater. They love the hater. They love the love. Like, but that's a large percentage of people. And who doesn't care about that? The National Football League. So
counts the same.
This will probably be the most watched Super Bowl of all time. It's probably going to beat last year, which was the most watched Super Bowl of all time. I believe the Chiefs are now America's team. They've supplanted the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys are still popular, but they've supplanted them because of those boomers are now getting up there. So the Chiefs are the millennial and the Gen X team. They're the Golden State Warriors of the NFL. They have a national brand. They have a world brand appeal. They have a guy that's a mega superstar. They got 2 mega superstars. They got a Hall of Fame head coach, and they're really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. And they revolutionized the game, and a lot of people are jealous of it. And when you're jealous, that's envy. That means you're gonna hate watch. So, yeah, I wouldn't say they're the villain just because they are good people. Like, Mahomes is a good person, Kelsey's a good person, Andy Reid's a good person. Like, they're good people. But yeah, for some, they're going to think of him as the villain. And I wouldn't say they're Patriots level hate yet, because that was 20 years of hate.
Right.
Yeah. We're at 6 years of hate.
We're close.
Yeah, but I mean,
got a little more to go.
In this generation, you're pretty much there, because they're going to be in contention every time. And every time the Chiefs lose a game, it's going to be very celebrated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Except for obviously in the Kansas City area. So like, yeah, but I mean, like,
we do with losses.
I mean, I think once you get 3, then you have the conversation. I think 3 is that magic number, because 1's like, all right, you did it. 2's like, oh, you're on to something. 3's like, okay, you got it. Jordan was celebrated with 3. Kobe and Shaq was celebrated with 3. The Warriors were celebrated with 3, which ended up being 4. And the Steelers of the 70s were celebrated with multiple champions. The Cowboys of the 90s, the 49ers of the 80s, the Patriots of the 2000s and the 2010s. Like this is the decade for it. I mean, yeah, it's really what it is. So
yeah.
I used to pray for times like this, Harold. Growing up.
I mean, thank you, me.
I
There you go.
They had it already on there.
Bro, it's like obviously like being from here growing up, just like seeing all the heartache, like the Trent Green days, and obviously like the Garbach days, and obviously Matt Castle, who I met him and I worked out with him. He's very how you feel about Tirico is how I feel about Matt Castle. I hate that guy. He's very mean. Then obviously transferring and transition to Alex Smith and Andy Reid bringing consistency to the organization. This is just like being born and raised there. I would never have thought we would be where we are right now. So I'm appreciative of every moment, good or bad, like you said. And I don't really trip over the wins or losses, because I remember years ago we used to beg to get 10 wins. Now 10 wins is like a formality for us. So
let's win a playoff game.
I've been living in a dream ever since Pat got here. So
please
couldn't even get one. So with the Marcus Mariota game, the all field goal game, the no punt game, so many dumb losses we've had over the years. So to be in this moment, I've been living in a dream the last 6 years. So I don't know if I ever want to wake up, man. I'm appreciative of every moment, man.
That's fair. But winning comes with a cost. Just know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, when you guys are going to be back and forth, I'm sure it's some people from other fan bases, and they're going to be like, "We hate you. We hate your guts." I mean, like, think about.
I like it on this side here. I like this side way better.
You should. You should.
I like this side way better.
You should like that side, but I mean, like, I do think about a city like Buffalo, who's been going through hell. Like, that's fair, but I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's life. Like when you have your best teams, you're up against juggernauts like they were against the Cowboys, and now they're with the Chiefs. So
Chiefs, yeah,
that's tough. I mean, like, but figure it out. That's all I can say. Like, yeah, because I mean, there's one thing about Patrick Mahomes. He has an insatiable quest for winning, and it is like deep rooted. I don't know where he gets it from, but it's like there's a special place within him to just like, I want to win.
He needs it like air.
Even his losses look good. He's so
need it.
Yeah, so
need it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I do want to wrap it up, because I thought it was kind of interesting them going through Miami, obviously going to Buffalo, going to the Ravens. Obviously last year's AFC Championship game, sending Burrow home. Last year's Super Bowl, sending Jalen Hurts home. Is Mahomes just going to be like MJ, where you're going to look back and be like, well, there's like 4 Hall of Famers that just never won a ring? Because I think that's we're getting into that kind of.
There's going to be a few. Yeah, there's going to be a few. Unless like they just have like a fluke loss in a wild card or divisional game, and then let's say the Bills play the Ravens, and both of those guys know that's their shot. I mean, that could happen. Or like one team just has like the team that year, and they're just so dominant you can't really. Like the way the Rams were.
We thought it was the Ravens.
Yeah, I know.
It was supposed to be that year.
But like that year the Rams won when they had the Super Bowl in LA, and they just had the team. So I mean, there'll be those years. I mean, there's gonna come losses in playoffs where you're like, damn, how the hell did we lose that? I mean, the Patriots had one. Remember when they lost to the Jets that one time?
Yeah.
I mean, they lost. I mean, Brady had Manning, and Manning got him a couple times. So just like Burrow's got Mahomes at least once. So it's gonna be, I mean, like, and there's gonna be somebody that comes along. Like eventually there's gonna be somebody that comes along that challenges them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but the experience factor is there. As long as Andy's there And Andy's loving this. Like, that's why the whole retirement thing is stupid. I mean, he's loving this. So
right.
As long as he's there, I mean, like, now it will be different when Travis leaves. That's going to be different.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first time you're ever like, oh, okay, this things have got a little different. So, but yeah, I mean, or when they maybe have to redo the offensive line again, like in 4 or 5 years or something like that. Like, you know, like that's where Brett Veach comes in. He just has to keep. I mean, like, because eventually he's going to miss on some. Like, that's just percentages. Like, you just miss on some picks. So, and coaches leave. So, yeah, I mean, like, eventually, like, that's how it works. It's the circle of life. But for right now, just living it and love it. That's all I can really tell you.
Every day.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to thank you for your time. I do have one last thing because I want to make sure everybody gets their last, little bit in. Talked about it a little bit. Super Bowl MVP, always a good odds. And I think a lot of this has to do with narratives. Mahomes will be going for his 3rd Super Bowl MVP, which is something that normally, is trouble. Tom Brady didn't get his on his 3rd because they gave it to Deion Branch because he had a great game. So do you have a best bet, just quickly looking at the list, that you'd be like, okay, that guy could have a really good game and the narrative behind him? What jumps out to you as far as this list is concerned?
Well, Mahomes is the obvious choice. So if I want real good value, give me Pacheco.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Mahomes is the obvious choice. He wins it, he's getting it. So yeah.
There you go. Just simple as that as far as storyline is concerned. CJ, DG, you guys got one?
I want to say Kelsey because he's had the year, but if he's getting the ball, he's getting it from 15. So if 15 have a good day, he gets it. So
I mean, I guess for the Chiefs side of it, I'd probably say, Pacheco would be, the best value that you could probably get, because the amount of touches he'll probably get in this game. And then for San Francisco side, if they do so happen to win, Christian McCaffrey would probably be a good bet to put in on or whatever, because I could really see him having, if they have a day, I could see him having a day. So
that's a good parlay piece. Take Kelsey, Pacheco, and CMC to score. I think that's probably a good piece if you want to put down something on those.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. So, Harold, thank you so much for the time today, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was great.
Yeah, we got the front look up. It was good. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming by and tell the truth, man. Look, appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week with another episode. We'll see if we have a guest on. We certainly will be getting more into the matchups of the game and everything from a finer detail perspective, man. Chiefs are back to the Super Bowl. Looking forward to it. So for DMAC, DG, CJ, and Harold, appreciate y'all for coming by. Tell the truth.
Peace out.
Go Chiefs.